So welcome back, guys, to We Talk Boxing, and it's officially fight week for potentially the biggest fight card that most people have seen, and the biggest fight card of 2025 currently. And the fight that we're going to be talking about today is going to be Joshua Buatsi versus Callum Smith. Now, this sees the pair step into the ring for the first time going up against each other, and they will be fighting for the WBO Interim World Light Heavyweight belt. So there is a very decent ranking and belt potentially up for grabs on in terms of this fight, and the winner potentially will progress to maybe a mandatory shot or definitely some sort of world title shot towards the end of the year, especially seeing how the main event sees Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol fight for the second time. Who knows what could potentially happen with those belts once those two fight? Belts could be scattered. The interim champion, whoever that could potentially be, if the WBL is vacated, could automatically become the champion, or they could maybe fight for mandatory against someone as well for the vacant belt. But yeah, it's a tremendous fight between the pair, two Brits, very highly ranked currently. And it sees, as I said at the start, both of these guys go into the ring for the first time. And they're very, very similar in terms of age. Callum Smith currently 34, Joshua Buatsi 31. But their records are slightly different. Buatsi's currently unbeaten, 19 wins with 13 KOs to his name. Whereas Callum Smith currently has a record of 30 wins with 2 losses to his name as well. So a lot more experience for Callum Smith. He also has a lot more KOs on his record as well, 22 KOs currently, and one of his losses were a KO loss as well. Now, Callum Smith has been around for donkey's years, to be honest, and his record suggests that he's very, very, very experienced boxer at this level, been in many big fights, and as I mentioned at the start, he is very highly ranked still ranked still in the governing bodies. Number 6 with the Ring magazine, and number 7, I believe, with the WBO. So yeah, it's ranked quite high in terms of the WBO, and that's potentially why he's got this shot against Joshua Buatsi. Because again, Joshua Buatsi currently is the WBO interim champion. So which means that he can't be ranked in any of the other governing bodies because of that status. But in terms of who Callum Smith has been in there with, he's been in there with a load of big names. Artur Beterbiev is probably the biggest challenger and possibly name that he's been in there with, and he fought Artur Beterbiev back in 2024, January to be precise, where he lost on a 7th round TKO. Now, most people watching that fight didn't potentially give Callum Smith much chance, much rounds watching it live. For me, it was a quite comprehensive victory, quite assured performance and victory for Artur Beterbiev. He was controlling the fight from round one. Very comfortable to me because with Beterbiev, he likes to ease his way into the fight. He's not a sharp or quick starter, but he certainly caught up with Callum Smith in the 7th round, and that's where the fight got stopped. But yeah, Callum Smith has been in there with Canelo Alvarez as well. So that was back in 2020. He lost on points, a 12-round unanimous decision. But the scorecards were very, very wide, and for a big man such as Callum Smith, didn't really trouble Canelo Alvarez too much in my mind. It was very comfortable for Canelo Alvarez, and he was the one who was landing the bigger and better shots. Now, they're the only 2 losses on Callum Smith's record, and he's been in there with other good names as well, such as George Groves towards the end of his career. He's been in there with John Ryder as well. So yeah, he's been in there with some good names, and he's been at this level for a while now. Whereas his opponent, Joshua Buatsi, in recent times, he's took on more credible opponents, and that's more recently, I'd probably say. So looking at his record, he's been in there with some decent names from the start of his career, and then up until I'd probably say the Craig Richards fight, which was back in 2022. That's when the opposition got a little bit better because he took on Craig Richards in 2022, beat him unanimous decision. Then he took on a Pavel Stepien, which again very tough, durable opponent. Went the distance in a 10-round contest with him. That was in 2023, and then he fought again in 2024 where he took on Dan Aziz, very tough opponent. Went 12 rounds, unanimous decision is what Joshua Buatsi won. But Dan Aziz was on tremendous form at this point. He was going places, and he was one of them that the winner kind of moves on sort of thing, and we kind of seen exactly what's happened to Dan Aziz since that loss as well. It hasn't quite been the same fighter, and if the roles were reversed, that could have been Joshua Buatsi, but it isn't, and obviously Joshua Buatsi moved on from that 12-round unanimous decision victory, because at the time when they both fought, it was for the British and the Commonwealth light heavyweight belts. Obviously Joshua Buatsi captured those, and then his next fight, which was in the same year, 2024, he then fought Willie Hutchinson. Now for me, this was possibly his best performance so far in any of the fights that he's been in, for me, because again, Willie Hutchinson, can't get my words out, Willie Hutchinson is a very, very good operator, for some good skills, very slick, and again, he's similar to Dan Aziz. At that point when Joshua Buatsi took him on, he was going places. He had, a lot of confidence and charisma about himself, and he was very, very assured that he was going to go in there and do the business against Joshua Buatsi. But Joshua Buatsi, from round one, laid it down flat, and pretty much not taught him a lesson, but showed him that there is a difference in the game, and that there is levels, and Joshua Buatsi is above that level. That Willie Hutchinson, I do believe, could come back, but Joshua Buatsi is above that level, and that's where he captured the WBO interim title as well. He also dropped Hutchinson a couple of times throughout the fight as well, and having 1 point as well deducted. But yeah, for me, his best performance to date, and that performance is possibly the reason why I'm maybe choosing him in terms of getting the victory over Callum Smith. But both guys have good physicalities in terms of their career. 6'2" in terms of height for Joshua Buatsi, with, according to BoxRec, a 74.5-inch reach, compared to Callum Smith, who is 6'3" according to BoxRec, and a 78-inch reach. I mentioned at the start that Callum Smith is the older man by 3 years, give or take. He's 34 according to BoxRec, whereas Buatsi is 31. Callum Smith started his career back in 2012, whereas Buatsi was 2017. Buatsi's got a 68.42 according to BoxRec KO percentage, whereas Callum Smith has got a 73.3%. So again, very similar in terms of KO percentage rates between the pair. But in terms of the rankings according to BoxRec, it has Joshua Buatsi at number 1 and Callum Smith down at number 2 for the best British light heavyweights currently. And in the world rankings, BoxRec has Callum Smith down at number 6 and Joshua Buatsi at number 4. People that are above them currently is Artur Beterbiev, David Benavidez, and Dimitri Bivol. They're the only 3 people. David Morale, very good operator, coming up in weight, is number 5 as well. So yeah, both guys very similar in terms of career patterns and where they are currently in their career to date. I believe this is going to be a very good fight, and I do believe on the actual live events, this is the first big fight that's going to be taking place. Many other fights on the card, but this is the first big one between the pair. So hopefully this could be a very good performance from both guys to maybe set the show off, and hopefully make the show perform as good as what the card looks, if you know what I mean. But it's going to be a clash of styles. Callum Smith is pretty much, for me, going to try and keep Buatsi at the end of his jab and try not to mix it too much until maybe the latter rounds when he, you know what I mean, if he's kept him by the end of his jab at all night, maybe catching him with the right hand or hooks when he's coming in, then he might get a little bit confident, and then maybe towards the latter part of the fight try and you know what I mean, try and hit Buatsi with some big shots at that closer range. But Buatsi, for me, has to use his head movement. He's got a very, very good jab, so he needs to try and utilise that. But it's the footwork, being in and out, which is, for me, is going to be the difference. And his work rate, that how he worked quite hard against Willie Hutchison, is going to be key in this fight as well. As I mentioned, Callum Smith has a very, very good jab, and he's going to really look to try and utilise that and just keep Buatsi at bay. But Buatsi has to establish himself by finding that right distance to get in and out and using his jab, you know what I mean, that fierce jab of his. But yeah, I think it's going to be a clash of styles, and hopefully we could maybe see a very, very good match up against both these two in terms of styles and fights, and maybe some excitement to lead the show. But I'm going to bank in terms of Joshua Buatsi. I feel as if he will get the job done. If he doesn't stop Callum Smith late, and when I mean late, I reckon 10 rounds onwards, then he will win on points. Callum Smith, for me, is on the opposite side of his career now. I think he's going more downhill, but he is a Smith, and the Smiths are very, very good operators, so I wouldn't be surprised if Callum Smith does get the victory over Joshua Buatsi, because he's got that little bit more experience and he's been at this level for quite a while. So yeah, if he does do it, I won't be surprised, but I'm just going to go with my gut feeling, and that's at this moment in time is Joshua Buatsi. But you guys can let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you see this fight going, and who do you make the favourite in this fight? Are you like me, going with Joshua Buatsi, or do you perceive that Callum Smith's going to get the job done? And how do you reckon it would get done? Do you reckon it's going to be a points victory, knockout, TKO? Let me know. And as always, please subscribe and comment. Bless.